What's some basic knowledge that a scary amount of people don't know? Turn signal. Turn lane. Turn. Don't put water on a grease fire. This is when your pan pot catches fire while cooking. Cover it with the pot or pan lid and turn off the heat. Edit. People in the replies have also added that baking soda and salt can work to smother the fire. Additionally, a grease fire safe extinguisher is a good thing to have in your kitchen. Drowning doesn't usually look like drowning on TV. 910, it's just silent. The person goes under and doesn't come back up. And choking doesn't look like choking as seen on TV either. If there's any hacking, coughing, they aren't choking and don't need a Heimlich maneuver. You only use the Heimlich if there's no sound coming out of their mouth. I worked in a care home. I literally had a lady choke to death on me. It was silent. I did the Heimlich. It didn't work. Another resident thought we were hurting the lady was attacking us to get off her the whole time. The chest compressions didn't work to keep her alive until the paramedics arrived. We ended up in court over it. It was the most horrific experience of my life. I will never work in care again. I did the job for 12 years before that. That mixing bleach and pine sol creates toxic fumes that can actually kill you if they build up too much in a room. A scary number of people actually do this though, in their laundry or when cleaning their homes. Don't dive in the water to save a drowning person. They will kill you. Throw them a flotation device, hand them a broomstick and pull them to safety. Do not get in the water with a panicking person. Wait until they are unconscious and then dive in to retrieve them. Source: years of swim lessons and unfortunately knowing somebody who has died trying to rescue somebody. Part of my dad's job was being a rescue swimmer for the fire department. In doing so, he's broken the noses of few people. Sometimes you have to bop him in the nose. Cops can lie to you. Just because it's natural doesn't mean it is automatically healthy. Just because it is artificial or synthetic doesn't mean it is automatically bad for you. Had my girlfriend tell me yesterday that carbonated water was bad for you because it has too many chemicals in it. I almost screamed back, it has too. Where their water shut-off is in their house. Found this out the hard way. To be fair, I had just bought the flat and was still working things out. I did at least clock where the gas shut off was right away. Also that turning off the water doesn't magically depressurize your pipes. If you've got a leak or are DIYing some plumbing, you need to open up faucets so the water already in the pipes drains out. How long it takes a semi-truck to stop. People living alone. Please Google how to do a Heimlich on yourself and remind yourself regularly. It could save your life when you have no one else around. That Africa is not a country. How to spot an obvious scam. Look how many people fall for those clickbait articles and chain posts and propaganda and stuff. Saw something this morning about some chick falling for a fake astronaut scam. Said he needed money to get back to Earth. Just AYFKM. People really be this stupid. I know, right? That's why I'm offering a 5,000 course on how to avoid scams. Enroll today. If you haven't learnt what a scam is by the end of the course, money back guaranteed. I'm constantly surprised by how many people don't seem to have any kind of bullshit detector. How to merge in traffic. Specifically, zipper merging. People are fucking terrible at that. How to tell if food has gone bad. When I worked in a meat department, we got like one call a day from people saying, I bought this X days ago, is it still good? Lady, I'm not there with you. This ain't a smellophone. You're going to have to use your own senses and brain on this one. My mum will always use meat before the date on the package and refuse to use meat even one day after. It's infuriating. I've had too many conversations that go, man, this bacon doesn't taste right. Yeah, I know, it smelled funky in the package, too. Then why did you cook it? It doesn't expire until tomorrow. Sit properly in any vehicles. Leg injuries are no joke, and you can even break your legs easily in a car crash because your legs were on the dashboard. Saw someone a few days ago who was driving and had their left foot out the window. Yeah, but how else am I supposed to look cool whilst I drive? Ponies are small horses, not baby horses. Baby horses are called foals, not to be confused with miniature horses. Right, it is so simple. Buying the ingredients for meth is the hard part. That not all internet news is real, or the news in our papers and on the news on TV. How a four-way stop works. Every hurricane in Florida, with several traffic lights go out. People are supposed to treat it like a four-way stop, but instead they do this nonsense. Oh, he went? 10 more of us will go. It's fine. I actually saw one light where people were doing it correctly after Ian, and I nearly shit myself. I was so shocked. I'd almost prefer that to what happens in the Midwest. Every four-way stop is a nightmare because people want to be polite and wave at you to go first, even if they were sitting there stopped before you even rolled up. Be predictable, not polite. Evidence-based reasoning and what evidence means. Also peer-reviewed articles and journals. That EpiPens and Narcan do not stop reactions of overdose. They slow them down, so getting a person to proper care is still a necessity. That the scientific meaning of theory isn't what the colloquial sense means. More generally, there are a lot of terms that mean one specific thing within a certain field or industry that means something completely different when talked about in a different field or just in the general population. Edit. When I wrote this comment, I was mainly thinking about innocent examples like how non-IT people sometimes refer to their computers as a CPU. It's pretty cool that everyone has taken this and given much more important examples and discussion. If anyone cares didn't already know, in technical terms a CPU refers to the main chip inside your computer responsible for most of the general purpose processing. True. Colloquial meaning of theory is hypothesis. That pretty much every machine requires maintenance. Think dishwashers, washing machines, cars, mowers, etc. They aren't magic boxes, and they will last longer if you know how to maintain them. My mother-in-law is in her 80s and until recently didn't know that the dishwasher needs its filters cleaning every so often. Edit, since this blew up a bit, for those that would like to locate their dishwasher's filters, they're different for every make and model. You do well to Google the make and model of the unit and see if you can find a manual. Maybe even YouTube will have some information. YouTube is a great resource for learning about things. Taking my dishwasher as an example, there are some reasonably obvious plastic pieces in the bottom of the washing area that can be slid out unscrewed. There are 3 parts to my filter. Rubber gloves when touching them might be a good idea. Cleaning them is as simple as taking a brush and some soapy water to them to remove all the gunk before reinstalling. You can also buy a plastic bottle full of chemicals that you put into the dishwasher. You run a cycle and the chemicals clean throughout the unit. I do both because I like a clean dishwasher. I do it every month or so, or whenever I notice that dishes aren't getting as clean as they should or some not clean smell. Edit, thanks for the awards. Now clean your dishwashers. Used to work as a cleaner. Can confirm. Hardly anyone knows about cleaning dishwasher filters, air conditioner filters, range hood filter and bathroom exhaust fans, and computers. A scary number of people seem to think it's all about software wrapped in magic. They just can imagine mechanical. Electrical issues, not even heating. Tangentially related. Every machine wears down. No, a machine suddenly breaking down while I was using it isn't proof of my stupidity. It just means that the machine was already severely degraded. CTRL-C, CTRL-V. Blinkers aren't for you. They're to warn other road users of your intentions. Blinking a fraction of a second before you turn. Or worse, start to turn, then activate the blinkers. Does fuck all. A guest requested their chicken to be cooked medium rare this week. I don't understand why I have to stress that chicken only leaves the kitchen when it's completely cooked. A colleague tried raw chicken hearts on vacation. Some local thing. That you should wait for people to get off the elevator when it arrives at your floor, instead of cramming yourself in when the doors open, blocking their departure. And keep walking when you go through a door or step off an escalator. Same goes for public transportation. Tax brackets. You only pay the higher rate on the portion above the threshold amount. Edit. Great example video here. This drives me fucking crazy. I work in manufacturing and make enough that we're right below the threshold for the next tax bracket. So many of my co-workers refuse to take overtime only because they think they'll actually make less money on their paycheck than if they didn't. My high school economics teacher told my class that he refused a raise because it would put him in a higher tax bracket. That is when I learned you don't have to know a subject to teach it. Overdosing on Tylenol, acetaminophen, fentanyl in large enough doses will prove fatal. The death is slow, painful, and cruel. And there's nothing that can be done about it, save for a liver transplant, which good luck with that. Edit. Several commenters have correctly pointed out that if treated quickly enough, there is an antidote for this poisoning and there can be a full recovery. When I wrote nothing can be done, I was referring to the point in time when end-stage liver damage and failure have occurred. Edit 2. Many commenters now querying what constitutes a large enough dose. with the caveat that mileage may vary with age, other medications. Alcohol, existing liver damage. 12 grams of Tylenol as a single dose, or 24x 500 milligrams tablets if you prefer, left without medical attention, is potentially fatal. Effects are cumulative, so frequent, smaller overdoses over a longer TME frame will give the same end-stage liver disease and damage for a medication that is widely recognized as well tolerated and therefore safe. It's sorta kinda ain't that. I had a former student do this. They tried calling family friends, but no one answered. Then they Facebook messaged me, and it happened to be one of the very rare times I checked my phone's notifications. I saw it, got there, called them to get their location, then called 911 in their area. They had moved off to college. Called the student back and told them to make themselves throw up if they could, and stayed on the phone with them until paramedics got there. They lived. I was completely unaware of Tylenol being able to kill a person up to that point. The only reason I knew to act was because I was having lunch with my husband, a firefighter paramedic, who was right beside me and saw everything and told me what to do. Pretty sure divine intervention was at play there. Paramedic here. I hate Tylenol overdoses. I hate them. There's nothing I can do if it's been too long except take them to the hospital. I've run so many people barely into their teens that appeared just fine, but were dead already. They just didn't know it yet. But I knew, and I knew how much they were going to suffer. It killed me every time. I'm a nurse and cared for an 18-year-old patient that overdosed on Tylenol. She was seeing 2 different boys, and it was an attempt to see which boy cared about her the most who would come to the hospital to visit her. She went into severe liver failure. It took her about 5 weeks to die a slow and painful death. Neither of the boys came to visit her in the hospital. A friend who was working in the ER had to tell a patient that the fistful of Tylenol that they took as a sort of way to guilt their recent ex by sending pics was not in fact harmless, and that they didn't just have a bad stomachache or appendicitis, and that they weren't going to survive due to waiting so long to seek help, and they needed to get their family there ASAP. Had to watch someone die slow who regretted taking an intentional large dose. Very sad. Some things can't be taken back, no matter how much you wish it. Acceptance is hard. That dose is also not as large as people seem to think either. The worst thing is that it gives people plenty of time to reconsider wanting to kill themselves, but by that point it is too late. Took a whole bottle one time. Nearly died. Somehow no damage to my liver. The experience is like this. You take them, you don't feel much until about 20 minutes in. If you haven't eaten, might be sooner. I had a meal before, so it was delayed a bit. You start to feel numb. Everything tingles a little. 30 minutes and your heart starts pounding and you can hear it. You're lightheaded and you have a hard time with balance, but it's not uncomfortable. You slowly start to feel more and more woozy. You kinda want to drift off, but your head starts pounding louder and it hurts at that point. A full throbbing ache. I personally was scared of being shamed for dying irrational at the time, so I made myself puke. Gut-wrenching, dry heaving after wasn't fun. Everything was dizzy and blurry. Couple hours in, I could hear distant voices that weren't really there. Think tripping on diphenhydramine. Slight auditory hallucinations. The walls were getting wavy. Black spots in my vision. My stomach hurt. A lot. Spent the next 3 hours feeling like I was under laughing gas BC of the Tylenol. They had me on Acidote for a good 6 hours along with a Gravel 4 for the nausea and saline for the dehydration. During that time, I was puking non-stop. Constantly retching, stomach was severely in pain and cramped. Nothing came out but bile. Couldn't keep anything down. Wasn't even gagging before having to puke, just stomach convulsions and dry heaving as a result. I couldn't get any sleep. My head was pounding. Sweating like a dog, abdominal pain like I had really bad gas and period cramps. After the ordeal, I couldn't walk for a good 2 days. Had a headache in the psych ward, and the nurse comes and offers me a Tylenol for the pain. Fuck the mental health system. Anyways, TLDR, Tylenol overdose is a slow and very painful way to go. Don't do it if you hate pain. And if you have emetophobia, edit, I don't blame the nurse for giving me Tylenol. I thought it was funny at the time. Looking back, I see it was not a good move as exposure therapy like. 2 days after overdose can be traumatic for some. She did what she could to help. She just wanted my pain to be eased. That's all. And she did her job as she was supposed to do. I said specifically fuck the system for a reason. I realized Tylenol is probably the nurse's normal protocol. Just would have expected in a mental health facility they would put overdosed on Tylenol, do not give to patient for pain, or something cutely annotated on my file to prevent me from one. Further liver damage 2. Further attempt urges 3. Further traumatization. The mental health system is fuck the nurse is but someone who has worked flesh and bone to uphold that system. I don't blame her. To be 100 clear, I too work a job now and I am blamed for the shitty services and policies I have to adhere to for the company. So, everyone stop telling me I'm a bad person for saying fuck a nurse, yeah? You misread the context and I don't owe you shit. Edit. Whoa, second edit. Karma insane on this comment and lots of replies. I'm reading them all. I promise. Random upvote on your comment is probably me. Won't reply to all due to going to bed soon. Also sick of doom scrolling lol. Thanks for all your kind words. I'm a completely different person today. I'm doing very well mentally. If anyone feels the need to go down the path I have, or if anyone needs to talk, my DMs are open. Really, I'm not a therapist, but I've got years experience therapizing myself. If you just need an ear, that's fine too. Love you all. GN. I worked in an ER and had to watch a father break down in panic as he was told the bottle of Tylenol his suicidal daughter took was going to require a liver transplant if over a certain amount it was unclear how much she took. My heart broke for the guy. Daughter was out of it and didn't seem to understand what she'd done. Watched her labs over the next 8 hours and thankfully she was just under the fatal dose. If she had taken maybe 1-2 more pills, that would have been it. I have mastered the art of not drowning in water. I can't stand in, what's it called again? That the yolk of an egg does not develop into the chick. You wouldn't believe the amount of posts on parrot forums where they are surprised that their bird laid an egg because she doesn't have a mate. How can that be? I have a standard answer to explain that a female bird will produce an egg, i.e. a single-celled egg, just like human females if conditions seem to be good for breeding. It passes into the cloaca, where it is either fertilized or remains unfertile. The hen builds a shell and food sac yolk etc. around it and then it is laid. What we usually refer to as an egg is the housing for the actual egg. And yes, I spent over an hour one day trying to explain to someone that just because the yolk is yellow and chicks are yellow of chickens anyway doesn't mean that the yolk is a baby chicken. Financial literacy. It is so important, but a lot of people just don't know shit. Politicians are government employees. They literally work for you. Hold them accountable. And for fuck's sake, don't make them your personality. Years and years ago, I read a book that took place in Australia. I'm in the USA. In the book, it was Christmas time, and also summertime, because that's how it works. The narrator described Christmas decorations that were snow-themed, Santa still in his red suit, etc., and I thought it was interesting that the decorations were still winter-themed even though it was summer. This book is my only source for this information, so I don't even know if this is really the case. Anyway, I went around to like 5 to 6 people at work trying to tell them that I found this info mildly interesting. And I always started with, you know how December is summer in Australia? And literally not one person knew that. Like, everyone was confused about it. I felt like I was taking crazy pills because I thought that was common knowledge. Aussie here. As a kid, I had a Christmas shirt with Santa surfing in swimming shorts. The pandemic really drove the point home for me that a very large number of people do not understand the concept of probability. See also, any casino. That chimpanzees are apes. Also, monkeys aren't chimpanzees. That a lot of things should not be put in your body. But, on the other hand, a lot of things should. Not to pour water into hot oil. Edit. Damn, this blew up. Lolil also add that this may not be basic knowledge, but it should be. I myself only found out from one of my science electives in year 1112, and even then it was a topic that only came up after a student asked my teacher about an incident that popped up on the news, so chances are it would never have been mentioned otherwise. Schools should at least have a lesson program highlighting the common risks at home and the methods to avoid contain them. Homeroom class would have been a perfect time. We spent the majority of that twiddling our fingers until the bell rang. I put a tiny drop in to know if it's ready. Sometimes, it booms. Learned this the hard way at 13 when my mother left a pot of oil on the stove. 3rd-degree burns on my right hand, neck and chest. Women don't pee through their vagina. A recent congressional interview with a doctor had a congressperson asking if a woman could swallow a capsule camera to check the health of their fetus. And when he was told, no, the digestive system is entirely separate from the vagina, he said, wow, fascinating. And on that note, uterine bleeding is not like pee. You cannot hold it in using muscles. Point of fact, if you use the muscles, it just bleeds faster. I guess next you are going to say PIS and is stored in the balls. We know that. Women pee out their butt. Antibiotics do not work on a virus. Edit, I did not expect this to blow up this much. Thank you so much for the awards and the shared information. How to properly wipe their butt and wash hands. It was extremely worrying at the start of the pandemic when people started making a big deal out of needing everyone to wash their hands. Like, grown-ass adults aren't already washing their hands? They're not optional on cars for a reason. Use them. A turn signal means you're intending to change direction and let others around you know this intention. It does not give you the authority to change direction. That the health of your teeth, gums, and mouth is directly related to the health of your heart and how much inflammation exists in your body. The difference between there, and there, lose and loose infuriates me. And two. In the United States, when you're a pedestrian walking on a road with no sidewalks, you should walk on the left side of the road so you can see oncoming traffic. This gives you precious extra seconds if they're driving like an asshole. Unsolicited advice is generally going to be taken as criticism. Criticizing the people in your personal life creates distance. Butting in where you aren't wanted is going to harm your relationships with other people. And they're going to take your opinions and advice less seriously over time because they'll think of you as a newbie know-it-all. Overbearing people get tuned out. Instead, first ask yourself if your advice is even needed. Does this affect you? Is this an emergency? Is anyone going to be harmed if you don't put your oar in? Are you being asked for advice? Or is this person just sharing information about their day and building their relationship with you? And if you do need to weigh in, try leading with, may I make a suggestion? Otherwise, you're going to rile the other person up. And on the flip side, if you have a newbie know-it-all in your life, it's best to simply pause them with a calm and polite, thanks, but I didn't ask. If you try to explain your life to them, they see it as an invitation to be even more overbearing. I met a very sophisticated British man at a wedding a while back, and I'll never forget learning this advice from him. I just overheard him speak to someone and he began with, would you mind if I offered up a bit of advice, having been in that situation before? He then proceeded to wait for permission before giving advice. It had never occurred to me what a kinder way to speak to someone that could be, as well as extrapolate it out to many kinds of conversational tools. How to check if a source is credible. Misinformation is straight up killing people. Edit, how to actually check if a source is credible. Identify the author and check their credentials. Also, see who their employer is, and consider how it might impact their biases. Compare headlines to the actual content of the article. Is it intentionally misleading to provoke an emotional response? Think about whether it's done to intentionally misdirect people. Check the date the article was published. When it was released could change if the information is outdated. Fact-check the story by using websites like factcheck.org. Dig deep to see if the news article cites sources and traceable quotes. Check if the URL has any misspellings or odd use of language. Important things to remember. Always consult multiple sources. Social media is not a reliable source. Looking at you, Facebook. Be open-minded and fight against confirmation bias. Avoid predictive searching so you don't get trapped in an echo chamber. Obligatory thanks for the upvotes. Be smart, y'all. Red on dead battery first. Then red to donor, black from donor, then finally black to bare metal on stalled car or black terminal when jumping a car battery. That on ramps are meant to accelerate to the speed limit, but the time you reach the highway you're entering, people get to the end and they're still going 35 miles per hour. What are you doing? How to perform CPR. Women can get pregnant on their period. Don't just pet someone's dog. Always ask first. Billion-dollar companies don't care about you, so stop simping for them. It's highly unproductive to film, laugh at, yell at, or similarly engage with people currently having a mental breakdown. Exactly. Especially when that breakdown is a trauma reaction or something akin to an autistic meltdown. It's not something that can be controlled. If a person's having a meltdown, they're hurt at that moment. Why is it so hard for people to understand that you shouldn't hurt them more? That if a product or service is free, especially on the internet, then you are the product. The number of people who just randomly turn things hoping that it goes the correct way for what they want to do is amazing. Remember folks, it's righty-tighty and lefty-loosey. It's righty-tighty and lefty-loosey, except when it is not. Bicycle pedals, butane canisters. Reddit is not real life. Social media in general, especially when you look around at your local demographic, none of this reflects the definitions of fascism and socialism, and the fact that they are not the same thing. Edit. I surprised how quickly I was proved right by some of these comments. There's a long handle on the side behind your steering wheel that when you flick it up or down it turns an orange flashing light on that tells other drivers around you which way you're going to be turning. I've noticed a growing number of people signaling the opposite direction than they're turning lately. I don't know what the hell is going on with that, but it seems to be more and more common lately here in Toronto. Yeah, but if they know where I'm going to go, they can speed up and cut me off. I need to be stealth mode. S. How much signal I need to cut across 8 lane? None. I turn now. Good luck, everybody else. How to talk to people. Like, in general, stuff like basic phone etiquette, greeting, ending a conversation. I reckon this is only going to get worse. I can't maintain a conversation for the life of me. I run out of things to say in less than 2 minutes. And I actually speak for a living. I'm an English teacher. I can put on a performance and talk students' brains out all day and appear very social. But in a personal setting, hopeless. I don't know how to talk about nothing. That women can become pregnant after unprotected sex seems to surprise a lot of people. I want to share an anecdote of my last encounter. We were ready, so I said, "I'll be right back," to which she replied, "Where are you going?" I said, "To get a condom," and she said, "Why?" Now, I took that "why" to mean something like, "You don't need one, it's okay. I'm on the pill," or whatever, to mean that there was no reason or need to wear a condom or any risk in not wearing one. I trusted her in that moment and in the heat of it, went okay and dived straight in, which is something I have never done before. Afterwards, I said to her that I felt bad about not wearing one, that I said to myself I would never have sex without a condom to avoid unnecessary complications. And she said, "What complications?" To which I replied like, "I don't know, you getting pregnant," and her literal response was, "Me pregnant? I can't get pregnant. I'm 36. I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And promptly got in a morning after pill, which resulted in no unwanted pregnancy one way or another. Like, seriously. I feel like I don't even need to explain how dumb it is that a 36-year-old woman didn't know she is still capable of getting pregnant. Women can also get pregnant after protected sex. It's not 100. Joke's on you. I'm having sex with a woman who's already pregnant. That intelligent people can see through their bullshit and would just rather not be bothered with calling them out on it. This sums up every story that ends with, "and no one even noticed." People did notice, but they didn't care enough to mention it, or were too polite to the point of lying and saying that they didn't notice. Just basic cleaning up after yourself skills. I have roommates and it's like they weren't taught as kids to leave it clean. How you found it? Clitoris, urethra, vagina, anus. One of those things is not like the others. Like stupid basic things about THI car and what to do in emergency escadrille in said car. Even in the phone, there are basic things that people don't know. A cold is a virus. Being cold doesn't spontaneously generate the cold virus. What do you have against gay phones? Let them marry. You're very affected by reading homophones? The elites don't want you to know this, but the ducks at the park are free. You can take them home. I have 458 ducks. The elites are punching the air right now. I know this a joke, but someone somewhere won't get it. Ducks are federally protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. Taking a duck or goose from a park is the same as poaching, and if the city-state stocked that pond, it is also theft. Should viz not should have. You would think more people would have known that. How to change a tire. Some newer cars don't even include a spare tire. Major human organs and where they are. Right there in the church. Basic arithmetic. I'm not saying everyone needs to know how to multiple 3-digit numbers in their head on command, but a surprising amount of people just give up when you ask them to add 2-digit numbers together. They don't speak Brazilian in Brazil. Come on, everybody knows a Brazilian is 10 times greater than a gazillion. We are responsible for our actions and their consequences. It's better to use water that's not quite boiling when you're making your tea. A British comedian called Dave Gorman does a great bit on this in a program called Modern Life is Goodish. Has graphs and everything, and he discusses why the prevalence and popularity of coffee has had a negative impact on the quality of tea you now get from cafes. Very informative and very British. It's probably on YouTube somewhere if you fancy a laugh. Reddit is just as bad as a time waster as any other social media platform. Oh yay, I just wasted 7 minutes looking at this post before I head to work. Now I gotta rush out the door, not without making a comment OFC through. I think we all know this. Corporations do not care about human life. It's I couldn't care less, not I could care less. The fact that if you count something like people, that's a number of people. If you can't count it like water, it's an amount of water. How to sew a button on. I don't know if it's because I grew up where you wore something until it fell apart, but the amount of people that don't know how to do this or own any kind of basic sewing stuff drives me nuts. A lot of newborns die from CO sleeping. My wife works in social services and she sees it a lot for such a small county. It's rarely druggy people either. It's normal, hard-working people that just didn't think it would hurt anything. It's awful and never worth the risk. Yet so many generations and families act like it's no big deal and that all the doctors are crazy.